Let's go. Decentralized Pictures Talent Cast. I'm Matt. That is Haviland Stillwell, writer of Literal Nightmare and winner of the Never Alone Award. Thanks so much for being here, Haviland.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. So let's give the audience a little context about you. You obviously have a well-experienced background as an actor, singer, director, so kind of capture all that for us.
Yeah, so I started very young. So I feel like I've really been like a lifer in the business, and have seen all the changes and evolution that it's gone through. I started out, my mom was in the business, so I kind of started out just observing it, behind the scenes, watching what she was doing, and then got into it as an actor. Went to NYU, studied vocal performance, musical theater. Then I started working on Broadway. I did big epic commercial musicals, Fiddler on the Roof, Les Mis, and then moved to LA and got way more into TV, film, and voiceover. So along that journey, I've always been a producer. I've always kind of like my sort of dream life is always to be acting in something, but also be aware of what's going on, in all of the elements of what's happening. Just because I think for some artists, they kind of want to be in the background and they just kind of want to do their thing and like not focus. But for me, I feel like it helps my process a bit to kind
Mhm.
of know as much as possible. So that's the ideal. We most of the time don't get that.
Right.
Yeah. So all of that, the very long story, very short, brings us up to where we are today.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Appreciate that intro. So we're here to talk about Literal Nightmare, again, winner of the Never Alone Award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So talk to us about that project, the inspiration behind the project, and it has three characters in it: Kitty, Brain, and Heart. And I found like their dynamic to be kind of just walk us through that dynamic and the relationship of those characters.
Sure. So the inspiration of this is my background as a professional singer, actor, Broadway person. There really is a very specific type personality. I feel like that not only gets into musical theater as a career, but also is able to sustain that kind of career on their body and their mind and their psyche.
Mhm.
And it actually this is based on a literal nightmare, a recurring nightmare that I have that I just kind of expounded upon. And I used the prompt of the Never Alone Award to build it around that. So, it had to have there were various rules, fewer than four characters, one location. It needed to be in the fantasy or horror realm with a drama component. So I just went very weird. And, it's kind of like in your dreams, random things are happening that you're like, why is an alligator walking across? Like
Exactly.
it doesn't make any sense.
And
But
we would think that we would be smart enough to like recognize that makes no sense and wake up, but we're not.
but we're not. Well, I've sort of am the belief like that our dream state is a different dimension that we're in, right? Like they call it the fourth dimension. So, we're in literally a different dimension, which I think can be a place for us to learn more about ourselves and to do things that we can't do here in the third dimension. Like we just can't we don't know yet how to float up in the air, or how to, teleport, or how to have conversations in this case with a personification of our bodily organs. So so yeah, I mean Kitty is a Broadway actress. She's working her ass off. She's very diligent. She's doing all the things that she feels like she's supposed to do. She's done all of the things to be a working actor and to be successful. And honestly, as a working actor and as somebody who's friends with most of my friends are actors or writers or directors, I think we're all at this point where everybody did all the stuff we were supposed to do. We went to the school, or we went to the class, or we did this workshop, or we paid our dues doing the PA work or whatever it was. And it's kind of like, okay, well, where's the promised payoff? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like
Yeah.
and that kind of gets into, I think, what DCP is all about, of this sort of gatekeeping system. So I really tried to, in 7 pages,
Sure. Yeah.
kind of like bring all of those themes in, with the idea that there's a lot of creative room to for each and every person working on it to really bring their A game and be very creative and be very experimental almost with how they want to do their part.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So, based on your network and your experiences, do you think a lot of other actors, filmmakers share this nightmare?
Yes.
That was a very quick yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean anybody I know who's read it, who's an actor, especially Broadway people are like, I've had this exact, not like I've had this exact, I mean, there's kind of things that go off of it because we get into, there's kind of, there's almost like a White Lotus type of like sardonic tone to some of it where it's like,
Yeah.
it's so ridiculous and so kind of over the top and like almost melodramatic that there's a lot of real stuff in there, but I think in the humor of it, you can get a lot of the like really upsetting things, like in
Sure.
like dreams where you wake up and you're like, that was kind of funny and weird, but also I'm disturbed all day because I can't stop thinking about it. So yeah, I do think that like there's this feeling of perfectionism. There's this feeling like we're all trying to quote get it right. We're trying to get something right so we can be validated by this unknown entity that we all thought like we were going to get a call from Hollywood and be like, hey kid, you made it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it is like, what does that even mean? And I think in our work we can ask a lot of those questions while first and foremost hopefully entertaining and being fun to watch.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the dream. Okay, so excellent, excellent. So since winning the award, now the project has changed gears a little bit. So kind of walk us through, where the project is at today and kind of where it's going. What do those next steps look like for the project?
Sure. So yeah, basically, we part of the contest was that there was a small kind of prize money that came from DCP, which is
Yeah,
lovely,
cool.
which has been awarded, and then basically that it was going to be produced. Now that's changed a little bit, so now that's kind of on me and my network to see that through.
Mm-hmm.
So having said that, I'm very new to the Film 3 world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm, a 30-year veteran of the of the in the trenches of Hollywood and, Broadway and all of
Sure.
that.
In all
But
fairness, I think we're all newbies still.
that's true. I mean, that's true. It's kind of like the people that are the veterans of Film 3. It's like it goes back just a few years. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
so I think that everyone kind of even knowing what Film 3 is at this point is kind of a pioneer in their own way.
Exactly.
But yeah, so my goal with it is to hopefully get some more sponsorship. In terms of actually, finances, but also in terms of if anyone wants to volunteer, be part of it. I really do believe this is going to be an amazing piece as a showpiece for everybody who's involved. There's so much opportunity for production design, for music, for really every element of it. So I kind of have my dream thoughts with it. My wife, Reed Stillwell, is a writer director as well. And so Reed is going to direct and has really incredible ideas. But, both of us kind of come from the school of thought of like, you have your dream scenario and then you go, all right, well, what do we have to work with?
Exactly.
And I mean, I really wrote this because I really didn't know what the circumstances of the production value and the amount of money and all of that. So I
Mm-hmm.
wrote it to be very scaled back.
Mm-hmm.
But also because it's a dream, it also could be really incredible. It could take place in the metaverse. It could,
Yeah.
there's so many really exciting things. So I'm kind of basically sort of I have a couple of different ways we could go with it. And the bigger way, of course, is that, somebody comes in as a sponsor and goes, hey, this is perfect for me to really promote
Mm-hmm.
myself, my work / my company and what we can do. And, let's really make this a thing and get this out on the film festival circuit and, use it almost as like a commercial for what we're all doing here.
Great, great. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like the project is still very much alive and well,
Oh,
and
yeah.
can't wait to see where it goes from here.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
Yeah. So the first time we met was at the Film3 Summit, and so tell me about your experience there. What were your takeaways from from that summit?
Well, the first thing, I felt like everybody was so positive. And, it seems like everyone's really, I sort of feel like I'm like a lifetime cheerleader. I was never a cheerleader. I've played a lot of cheerleaders, a lot of cheer coaches. Um, but you know, I feel like that was a big element of it is everyone's really energized and excited about helping each other and like, hey, let's do this thing. So that was number one, very overwhelmingly positive people and
Hmm.
excitement around all of the, what the future holds for Film 3. Um, yeah, so that was kind of that was the overwhelming thing I noticed about it. As far as, I still think that it's a small community, which of course it is because people are still kind of figuring out what it is. But I think that the future of Film 3 is going to really depend on factors like accessibility, and being able to get people onboarded and like all the way onboarded. Because I say that I'm not even fully onboarded. Like I understand a lot of it, but I'm not all the way in terms of knowing how to do everything and knowing all the terminology and all of the way that the meta masks work and all of that. So I feel like if there's a way to the more if people want look, I mean, nothing really works all the way unless it has to grow bigger for it to really work and succeed, right? So if it's to grow bigger and succeed, it has to be accessible to people that, they may not know anything about crypto. They may not know anything about NFTs.
Hmm.
And make it so it's like, oh, you don't have to be, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be like, a coder for Google to understand how this works. You can just be a normal person who just likes art or who, is interested in growing your wealth or, all of these things. So that's kind of what I see only as being kind of the drawback at this point of people getting more involved in Film 3. Like theoretically, it's amazing. Theoretically, it's a great idea. It's a great bridge. I love the idea always of anything that makes artists more able to have agency over their career and over their life, their projects. But, having said that, we need to kind of help everybody along a little bit until it's more user friendly.
Absolutely. And actually, that was going to be my next question is kind of like what you see as the next phase. But I think you answered a lot of that. And it is a lot to unpack the Film 3 movement. Uh, you know, decentralizing the way that we're selecting films on how films can be produced to the blockchain crypto aspect. There's so many pieces attached to this, and I remember there was a question on one of the panels about how do you approach, how do you really approach people with this concept and not scare them away,
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to hear, the different approaches that maybe talking, initially about the crypto aspect or the blockchain aspect is not the first topic, to really bring up when we're, broaching this topic of Film 3 and what its capabilities are, which obviously are huge. So let me pull this back to your screenplay and kind of give me a comparison of what it's like operating in the film 2 space, writing a screenplay like this, trying to get people to read it, have the possibility of production, making partnerships, versus this Film 3 space, which you've obviously utilized DCP's platform for marketing that screenplay. And, it's been, I think, successful by being selected as a winner for one of these rounds to help give it further legs to move forward. So just tell us about, just the general differences in operating in the Film 2 space with this screenplay versus the Film 3 space.
Well, to me, there's a lot more similarities than differences so
Mm-hmm.
far. Um, the probably the biggest difference is that, Hollywood is so just inundated at this point. And I've seen that happen over the years, which in some ways is great because it means more people are getting more opportunities. Certainly marginalized people are getting more opportunities than ever before, although that still needs to grow in terms of, BIPOC creatives, queer creatives, et cetera, et cetera. but I s- I don't know, because I'm so new, I haven't seen it go all the way through. Um, what I've seen is that it seems like in this very small community, there are some who are very experienced, as far as in their craft of, you know, um, writing, directing, production design, what have you. And then there are many who are very enthusiastic and really want to be good at these things, but they're really not at that level yet. And I kind of think of it like I grew up in Georgia, and I was involved in, film and TV early when I was a kid. And there were like, five things shooting at one time there in the 90s. Now there's 100 things shooting there. So now there's a huge community there. It's massive. It's completely packed full of people that live there and work there and are excellent at what they do. But at the beginning of kind of the boom of the Southeast, which was probably about 10, 15 years ago, there really weren't. There was maybe one department head or two, three department heads that lived in that area. So what I feel like people were finding was that, people that were PAs that maybe had PA'd on one show were becoming first ADs. People that had maybe been a wardrobe assistant suddenly were the wardrobe supervisor. And it's like, oh my God, this is great. That's great
Mm-hmm.
opportunity. But they didn't maybe have the experience, um, to be in that position yet. So it's a catch-22 because, obviously it, the Southeast has now found their way. I'm only giving that as a kind of analogy because I feel like Film3, just from my very limited experience seeing it, and maybe I'm totally wrong. This is just kind of what I've observed. It seems like it's a little bit like that at this point, that there's, some people very experienced, obviously in film financing. That's a whole nother story. There's tons of people who are, thank God, in the film financing world who are coming over to Film3 and trying to work with artists and bridge that gap. And I am so grateful for that. And I want to meet all of you. Please contact me. I have a million projects of me and all my friends. So yeah, so I mean, that's incredible. But I think as far as the creatives, we're still, we Film3, because I'm all totally in it. Like the people making films in Film3, I think it's still really important to reach, again, like I say, it's outreach to these really incredible people in film too, who are excellent at what they do, to say, hey, come in and like mentor these, people who are super excited and super want to do their thing, but like maybe don't have the experience yet to, be a department head on a large production. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to take more time for those distinctions, to become more apparent and more visible, and to create that clear delineation. That like here's where we used to be, and here where we are today. So it'll take some time, definitely. All right, so that captures all of the main questions for the interview, but we got to end with something fun here. So this is called Matt's Speed Round.
Oh God.
And so don't overthink these questions, and so just
If
like
you've read my script, I overthink everything.
so
Great.
the first one or two words that come to your mind. Okay.
Okay.
All right. First question: Broadway, TV, or film?
TV.
Okay. So from your bio and your experience, I see that you've sung at the Oscars. So the Oscars experience is like.
Oh, you want two or three words? Um, Shot out of a cannon, incredible, life changing.
Wow, I gotta go. All
You
right,
gotta go.
I gotta
Everybody,
go.
you should really check out the Oscars.
I've heard it's
Everybody,
a thing.
I feel like everyone should definitely check out being on the Oscar stage, looking out at what you see, because it's like, oh my God.
Agreed. Agreed. Life goals right there.
Yes.
Okay. Your favorite film work to date?
Ooh, God, I have so many. I'm always bad about picking these. I would say probably just right off the top of my head, it would be like a three-way tie between When Harry Met Sally, Big Business, hilarious, and Back to the Future.
Nice. Nice mix.
Yeah,
I love
they all,
that.
between the three of them, they have it all.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Love all three of those films as well. Okay, so I know we talked about this, but just think about the projection here. So, Film 3, 1 year from now, will be.
More accessible, hopefully. More well known.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, more user friendly and more, I guess, more transparent. Honestly, like I feel like there's a little bit of a lack of transparency, although I know the goal is to be transparent. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense. Well,
But it's still people doing it. You know what I mean? Like
I know.
people aren't perfect. So, and
Yeah.
neither is technology.
Indeed. Indeed. One step at a time for sure. Well, Haviland, it was such a pleasure having you on the Talent Cast, and so best of luck with Literal Nightmare, and I know that you're involved with a lot of other projects, so best of luck on those as well.
Thank you.
Hopefully I'll see you around.
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
Take care.